Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, we're still here on the land, we're still working hard, so just wanted to give you another update on how far we got this week. So if you were here last week, you saw that we got our septic system, the septic tank dropped into the ground. We finished installing the well. So we're just continuing with that. This week we had the septic field installed. So this is the bags of ballast and the pipes that will take the liquid waste from the septic tank and put it into the leach field so that it can leach out into the ground. So if you don't know how a septic system works, just very simply, the septic tank that takes all of the waste out of your RV or your house fills up, and while the waste is in there, it breaks down and becomes liquid. And then once the liquid level fills to the top of the tank, which Steve showed us inside of there, and I'll show you that in a second. Once the liquid fills to the top, then it feeds out to a pipe that goes over to the leach field. The leach field filters the water, and then it just leaches out into the ground, and the ground water, filters it and recycles it and whatever it does. So a tank this size, 1,000-gallon tank. Now, if you had this on a regular house, you might have to have it pumped out every 3 to 5 years. Since we are only here during the summer and it's just the two of us and there's no house here and no cabin or anything yet, Steve thought that it should take about 10 years before we would ever have to have anything pumped out of here. So with a septic tank, you're not pumping out the waste. You're just pumping out any kind of solids that get left behind after the septic process, and that takes a really long time to build up. So it's going to be good for at least a decade, and we're so happy that we can now have our RV dumped, our black water and our gray water, into the new septic system.
I think we are right on the edge of having a finished septic system here. They've been putting the stuff in. Now this, where the septic field is all nicely covered. There's some better dirt that's gonna get pushed over that. And then come over here, here's where the magic happens, so to speak. We've got our 1,000-gallon septic tank lowered in. And just for the next year or two, we've stubbed out one. Looks a little taller than it actually is because there's gonna be dirt added to this, so that'll only be maybe that much above ground when it's all said and done. And that's also the direction the cabin will eventually be. RV pad will eventually be over there. But this will serve us this year and probably next year because we'll park the RV out here in front of this or in this area. So that'll be a good dumping.
In this tank, say you ever have this pumped out, I mean, it's going to be 10 years before you guys will ever have to worry about it. But this is your filter.
Okay. You want to do a little video of that? Yeah.
So you'll take that out and take your hose and wash that out.
This has a lot of, it's just got to get filled up before it starts flowing.
Oh yeah, that goes right, almost right to the, it's off of the, it has to go off the side of this pipe right here before it can start running out. There's a float in there. You see that ball? That float.
That's the stopper.
When you put a little cover on here.
Perfect. That's a good idea.
So we also did have Steve just kind of run through our front yard here with his bulldozer. It looks like a big mud pit right now, but what we really wanted to do was, since the big machinery has been coming in and out of here all last summer and all this summer, there was a lot of uneven ground, and even now there's still tread marks, but it's a lot flatter now. And we will have him come back over this again with some loom, top soil, just to even things out. We're not looking to make, Jason keeps calling it a golf course yard. We're not looking for a golf course yard, but we do want something that we can run and play on and have guests in here and walk across without worrying about falling in a hole or tripping or something like that. So we're just trying to smooth that out a little bit. What you got there?
There's a good chance I'm gonna guess wrong. It's either hay or straw, but it got wet, and our neighbor Steve there said we could grab a few bales to spread out here once we put a little grass seed down. So as I was telling you earlier, This smell brings back memories of like, people farms and doing this stuff, but put it over here with the other couple bales.
So our well has been working great. We've filled our water tank a few times now, and right now we're just got it on an on-off switch. For simplicity, we plug in the well pump when we need it, we fill our tanks, and then we unplug it again.
We're swapping out a couple parts up here that I wasn't paying attention, well I wasn't, or they handed it. This is black iron instead of a non-rusty kind. In fact, you can see the difference that versus the middle one right there, I think was the correct. And then here's black iron again. Those are used for, I think, gas lines. So they're not meant to have water, but that's okay. Everything else is brass all the way down. So I'm gonna replace these with a heavy duty PVC. I think it's called Schedule 80. So it's this gray. It's a lot thicker and heavier duty. All right, so they pull it out. Don't forget we have the safety line, which is tied here. There it goes. All right, so the other thing we're gonna do is put I think it's what's called a weep hole to let water drain out so that when we winterize or so in the winter, if any water is still all the way up to the top, once we unhook all this stuff, it'll be able to drain out below the frost line. And so our water table, or this is our artesian well, which means it actually pressurizes and pushes the water up from about 95 feet down, I think is where they hit water. And it's roughly 7 to 8 feet down to the water line. And so I'm gonna put something at about 6-ish feet that will be below the frost line, above the water line, and allow this to drain. And so we already measured where this will go. And I'm just gonna put roughly a 3/16 hole is what's recommended.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh, it's working. So that's what we want for it to winterize in the winter. But this will pump so hard that won't, that won't affect it. And if it does, we'll plug it up again.
Here, let's get a good shot of that underside. Wait a minute. Look at the new gray PVC on there. Yeah, that looks great. The other big progress that we made this week was to get our ATV trails started. You might remember last year that we had all these diagrams and colored pictures of where we wanted the trails to be, and we never got around to cutting anything last year. So this week, he went back there with Jason, kind of following behind and guiding, and cut paths probably at least 2 miles, maybe 3, of all through the woods, and just really rough cut, just knocking down trees and clearing stuff out. We will need to have Steve go back over the whole thing and scrape it smooth so that we can get a real ATV trail back there, but it's walkable right now, and it's so fun to be able to walk back through the land.
Apart from that path that we already have, maybe I want to reroute this since they did that opening down there. But come up here and take a look, please.
So if you were watching us last year when we first bought this land, do you remember that we went all through the forest here and marked out with ribbons places where we wanted our ATV and walking trails to be? And we mapped it all out, and we had these purple lines drawn on our map that we were going to have them excavate out trails. Well, that didn't end up happening over the winter. So now finally we are having our guy buzz all these trails that we taped last year. So now we're just going through and re-walking the trails, making sure that they are where we want them to be, and we can get that another step done in our land progress.
That is really looking good. So you can kind of see how they're reclaiming what was the previous access roads and twitch trails, which thankfully is not real hard for them to get back. But look at how that makes that into I could drive the truck on that if I wanted to, but it's especially lovely for a walking trail and ATV. And it'll kind of grow in a little bit more, so that's why it's good to have it wider than we need it to start with. And this is what it looks like otherwise from the old stuff. And we're gonna let this one grow in, I think. And you can hear that beautiful work happening in the background. Love it.
Nice.
Yeah, we're excited.
So once all these trails are roughed out like this, there's still a lot of stumps and uneven ground here, but the next step then will be to come back with, I guess, a bulldozer and to bulldoze it so it's flatter, and then the grass can grow up into like a mowable thing. But it's just one step at a time. There's lots of steps for each thing that has to happen on the land, but I'm just excited that the next step is done.
And that joins up with that's, I don't know what you call it, that secondary trail that is near the driveway.
It's like a real life trail.
Yeah, this is the part that goes down the western edge of that bell shape.
Okay.
This is the western edge of the bell that we're on.
We have a crossroads. We have a pretty big intersection here of some different paths.
So this is the diagonal towards the northwest sort of middle, like it's not all the way to the corner. And then we've got 3 trails in a row that are kind of a triple here, twitch trails. So let's go to the end one.
Okay.
This way. Oh, and I'm marking it on all trails.
We're recording it on all trails so we can know how far we're going and where we're going.
Yeah, no one can tell where we are, but we can.
All right.
So we're gonna go that way.
Plenty of moose sign on the land too. I'm sure they love to walk through here now that it's cleared. But they would walk through here even if it wasn't. So this is kind of the northern edge of the property. We've got this beautiful stand of tamarack trees here that makes a nice dark, cool forest back there. So we're gonna head right along that tree line on a path that they cut.
Yeah, I think we're roughly in the middle of the property going east to west.
Okay.
And so just, I don't know, 40, 50 feet at most in those tree line is our property line.
Look at how pretty this is.
Yeah, I love it. Back in there in the map, there's like a swampy area, and I think that we have some low areas that have cedar stands and can get a little bit wet. We don't really have, like, nothing was labeled officially wetlands, which is great for not, having as many mosquitoes, it not being as messy, and you don't have to do like setbacks, with the state of Maine. But just beyond our property, there's, the water, brook, and marshy stuff is way back there, which is why I think there's so many moose in this area. This is just great moose habitat, and possibly that's part of why the bears like this. But I think they like the raspberries and blackberries. I love this moss.
So pretty.
Right in here, it's a little deceiving. There's little ditches and divots. So this path will attach there, and this is lots of raspberries are in here. This we've sort of nicknamed Moose Circle because when we first were walking the land, we hadn't even put in an offer yet. We were able to bushwhack back here a little bit, and there was lots of moose sign. Like, it was really clear. There's moose droppings, and you can see where they laid down and bedded. It's growing up a little bit, but we're going to return this to, sort of a park-like setting back here. But we really like this corner. Did you get it? Nice. Mm-hmm. So we just startled two pairs. I don't know if they're male-female pairs. We have to look up what it is, but some kind of grouse, partridge, pheasant. Mm-hmm. That exploding sound where they fly is such a cool sound. Now we're coming down the eastern side of the bell, and then there it is, the big yard.
So that's what's going on. Not super exciting, but I just wanted to keep you updated on our progress here. Next week, we are heading south for Bryn's wedding. I'll maybe try to show you a few little snippets of the wedding. I won't do a whole video on it, but we will see you then. And until then, I hope you have a great week and get outside and explore outside your door. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.